introductions for ladies and gentlemen. In the moment you truly all have been waiting for.
But tell me what we saw.
Well, he seized the opportunity. He rose to the occasion, and what he was able to do is, first of all, stun him in the clinch. By grabbing him in the clinch and slamming him with those shoulders, that was unexpected. And I've never seen anybody do it that effectively. He slammed him in the nose, and you saw Cowboy's nose bleeding immediately as soon as they broke. So already he had Cowboy on the back foot. Then he starts marching forward. He lands that head kick. Conor had Cowboy basically done within the first 15, 20 seconds.
Steven, stunning? Is that even, can you say from Conor McGregor it's a stunning win?
Listen, I'm shocked and disappointed.
No, because it was funny because I could see your face in the middle of it all.
So I knew he had a questionable jaw, and coming in there and swearing that he wanted to strike against Conor McGregor, I thought that he was right there to be had. So I expected it to end in round 2. I didn't expect it to end in 40 seconds, or as you just said, Joe Rogan, the first 15 seconds.
How awkward is that for you to stand between the two of them and go, what are you guys fucking talking about?
Yeah,
like, I mean,
I would have preferred to talk to DC or Felder or you or anybody who understands the sport.
Then hitting him 3 times, not 1, not 2, but 3 times. He was pretty much done then, just like Joe said. So 15, 20 seconds in, you're seeing Cowboy Cerrone, who was the bigger guy, okay, the bigger guy coming into this fight, be done in like 15 to 20 seconds. I mean, I don't think he landed a single blow.
See, look, there's no positive in downplaying the career of Donald Cerrone or what he can do as a fighter. What that showed to me was how phenomenal Conor performed. That's what it showed me.
Against Conor McGregor, it was like shadow fighting, for crying out loud.
He landed one kick to the arms, and that was basically it. The consent.
I don't know jack shit about basketball. People foul people. I'm not sure why. I don't know what's happening.
Ask him how he's doing and say hello.
Yeah.
I know MMA. I understand it. So if you want to talk about MMA, I'd like to talk to MMA about someone else who knows MMA.
I certainly don't claim to be the aficionado you are or anybody else covering this sport, but excuse me.
Consensus was the best way that he was going to be able to win was to keep distance and perhaps use his wrestling. Right. Try to take him down, try to grab his fight to the ground, and wear Conor out. Because Conor's so explosive and dynamic. You can wear them out, and then their muscles fill up, and then they slow down in the later rounds. That was the hope.
The other thing is this, listen, you can't avoid being happy for Conor McGregor. He's great for the sport.
I have been a reporter for 25 years. I have covered sports on a variety of competitive levels, regardless of what the sport is.
This guy should not be allowed to talk about fighting.
That includes boxing and the UFC.
When he wins, it elevates the profile for the sport, unlike anybody else in the UFC. We get all of that. But the flip side to it, coming into this fight, Cowboy Cerrone had a reputation for not stepping up in the big moment. Now, he's been around for a long time.
If you don't know what you're talking about, and you're talking about it in front of millions of people, like
most wins, most closes, we get all of that because he finishes the job when he wins. But when he's lost, remember, he's never been a champion. They talked about that. So here's what I'm thinking. The lights might have been too bright, Joe. The lights might have been too bright. We have seen that from fighters from time to time.
Man, that's a bad look for everybody.
Yep.
It's a bad look for ESPN. It's a bad look for him. It's a bad look for the sport.
It's not good for me. It's not good for ESPN. First of all, as it pertains to ESPN, check the numbers. Not good for the sport. I think that's good for the sport.
And those bright lights shine down upon you, and you just ain't ready. No matter how much experience you have, you don't have that experience. You just ain't ready. And that's how it looked tonight. Cowboy Cerrone just didn't look ready.
And I don't give a damn if I did it. It don't take much to look at 3 shoulder shots to the nose that Conor McGregor gave Cowboy Cerrone, watching him fold inside of 20 seconds, knowing that he only got 1 strike off, and oh, by the way, that was blocked by Conor. It doesn't take much to look at the fight and say, excuse me, I didn't see enough.
You had that video of Stephen A. Smith, and immediately I was like, oh my goodness, this explains so much. Play this. Play this, Jamie. Watch this. Watch this. First of all, someone needs to explain to me what's happening here.
Yeah, well, it looks like a dick punch to the left.
I don't even think it's a dick, unless that guy's got a 2-foot dick. Look how low he's punching.
No idea, man.
This guy should not be allowed to talk about fighting.
This I can understand with Stephen A., but this is not what you want to release. After you just called someone who's a pioneer in the sport, you basically call him a quitter.
I didn't even get started in that fight, so how can you call me a quitter when I get my ass whipped before I even get started? That's what I want to know.
But my Lord, you couldn't back up Cowboy Cerrone. You couldn't catch a deep breath. You couldn't circle the octagon just a little bit, get your bearings on you. You couldn't do anything.
You call the guy a quitter. First of all, he had a broken orbital bone. Okay, you saying he was a quitter? He got his face smashed.
Yeah.
Okay, he got cracked by one of the biggest punchers in the sport.
Yeah.
He has the most wins in the sport. He has the most wins by finish. He has the most bonuses. I mean, come on. He has the most fights. Come on. You're calling that guy a quitter? He got cracked. That's what happens.
You can't call someone like Cowboy Cerrone or any other top guy in any organization. I don't care if it's UFC, Bellator, One, any of them. All these organizations, you cannot do that to these guys. These guys lay it on the line every time. We're not slapping a puck or hitting a baseball, okay? Yes. We're really out there getting hurt.
The emotional cost of losing a fight is so much different than losing a game. It's not the same. It's not the same thing. You're not talking about the same thing. You're talking about fighting. You're talking about unbelievable physical consequences, including, knock on wood in our sport, it's very rare, but death.
Yeah. No, it's true. Then you look like you've never played basketball or baseball or any other sport in your life either. Hit mitts like that. I'm sorry. So you cannot criticize people. And to be on a talk show, like you're saying, those talk show radios, go ahead and have that conversation with them. But you can't look like that and then talk shit. I'm sorry, man.
He wasn't ready for the way Conor McGregor started. That is for certain. Haven't seen Conor McGregor in the octagon in more than 15 months. Hadn't won in the cage in more than 3 years. What did it say about his comeback? Not just to win, Joe, but to be at the top of his game so quickly after that layoff.
Well, his preparation, and I was aware of his preparation. His preparation for this was rigorous. He prepared for years. He wasn't just coming back and then doing a 6-month camp. He had been training MMA as hard as he was in training camp the entire time. It's just he didn't have the opportunity to compete again. And when he focused himself for this camp and got ready, he didn't focus like a guy who has $200 million in the bank. He focused like a guy who's starving. He focused like a guy who's trying to regain his position, regain where he used to be, when he was hungry, when he was desperate. And that's why he fought so intensely tonight.
This is tough for me because here I'm standing next to a legend, okay? And far be it for me to refute anything that Joe Rogan says, but here's my reality. We haven't learned a damn thing about Conor McGregor based off of this fight.
The fuck you didn't?
Yeah.
Really?
Because who were you? Listen, the man did not get hit other than one kick to the arm. That's it. I mean, he didn't. Listen, I have gotten hit that much in the last week, okay? And I don't fight.
On air, we had a little weirdness because he was just saying, we didn't learn anything about Conor. I'm like, the fuck you didn't?
Yeah.
He just destroyed Cowboy in 40 seconds.
I mean, come on, y'all. The fact of the matter is we don't know, and we know that Conor McGregor is a champion. We know he's a great fighter. We know that he's box office. He's phenomenal for the sport. We're all happy he won. If you love this sport, you got to be happy that Conor McGregor won. But you didn't learn anything from tonight's fight.
The fuck you didn't?
Because Cowboy Cerrone just didn't show up. I could have ran for 40 seconds.
I disagree.
Like, you learn something. You learn he can perform under the bright lights in a giant pay-per-view after more than a year and a half out of the game. Yeah, you learned something. You just don't know what you saw.
We learned. We learned he rises to the occasion. We learned he could put Cowboy away. We learned that he can land a head kick. We learned that he could beat him down. We learned that this guy performs when the lights are on him. But we already knew that. But we learned that he was focused, and we saw. I've been aware of his training. He was in tip-top shape for this. And he was treating this like this is a potential resurrection of his career. Nurmagomedov humiliated, Floyd Mayweather humiliated him. So there's 2 humiliating losses in a row. This was his return, and it was a pretty significant return.
I can stand corrected on that because what he's saying is when you look at what Conor McGregor did, you can take something from seeing what he did based on what he's done in the past. He was knocking guys out in the past with his fist. This time it was a leg kick. It was the shoulder. So that's something new.
Of things that Conor does that people overlook and underestimate because he's such a knockout artist and he's so good, and his stance and his style and things, that he brought this to the next level. And you cannot discredit what he's done in the sport. What I learned from that is that from somebody who can take 15 months off and come back and perform the way that he did against someone like Donald Cerrone is absolutely amazing. That's what I took.
Why you need guys like you doing post-fight commentary and discussing these things, not people who don't understand the sport and practice dick punches.
Well,
it's a different thing. Look how low he's punching.
All I'm alluding to is what Cowboy Cerrone was incapable of taking inside of 40 seconds. Like you said, Joe, if you're done in 15 seconds.
But the sport it's a higher level consequence and risk, and it needs to be respected that way.
Yeah, it's hard for me. I understand what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with it. I get it. I learned something from you tonight. I got that. In terms of what Conor McGregor, something different came to his arsenal. But my Lord, you couldn't back up Cowboy Cerrone. You couldn't catch a deep breath. You couldn't circle the octagon just a little bit, get your bearings on you. You couldn't do anything. 40 seconds.
Me, Stephen A. Smith, saying what I said, that he didn't show us much in 40 seconds.
It's a bad look for him.
That warrants.
It's a bad look for the sport.
It's not good for the sport. It's not good for me.
Just a sport, right?
Yeah.
You are naked in the most literal sense of the word. You're naked physically. You're naked emotionally. When fighters lose, it's fucking devastating. For Conor to smash Cowboy like that in front of his wife, his kid, his grandma, and then the whole world. Like that's you got to have some respect for that man.
Because Cowboy Cerrone in his first pay-per-view match folded. I respect him, but he folded like a cheap tent. Period.
Well, I appreciate it, but you know what? I'm gonna keep on fighting.
Bad night for him. That's all.
But what's funny is with Stephen A. Smith, his personality and his brand is based on that kind of shit talking. So this is all good for him.
The subscribers to ESPN Plus, the level of attention that it got, the traffic that it generated in digital and beyond. Check the numbers. Number one.
You, how about that?
This is all good for him. Like, the more people talk shit about him, better it is for him. And then he just ramps it up even more, and more people are paying attention, and the ratings go up.
Until he sees Cowboy in an elevator. Go right a fucking head, buddy. Let me hear you. Who's quitting now?
So you look at him and you say, excuse me, did I see enough? After such a long layoff, losing an Omega Madoff, and before that an exhibition boxing match against Floyd Money Mayweather. Did you see enough? Hell no, we didn't see enough. I stated that night. I stated again. And I don't think disagreeing with that position warrants the kind of criticism that came in my direction.
Look, everybody knows what happened. What happened is Conor had a spectacular performance. Cowboy got caught off guard and he got finished quick. That's what happened. Talks trash and that's private and no one hears it. That's fine and good. But when you want to do that publicly, you want to broadcast that and then also do it on ESPN, I think it's just short-sighted and I think it's foolish.
Trying to learn it. Look at this. Is what
I think it's fine. He's trying to better understand our sport. It means he's a massive star who could talk from his perch and no one can touch him, yet he chooses to try and learn the game so there's some weight to his opinion. You're a little off base, champ. Oh, DC's a wonderful person.
Oh, he's just struggling. I told him.
Anytime you want to talk to me about this fight, or you want to talk to me about my credentials to discuss something in the world of sports, name the time and place, Joe Rogan, I'll show up. It's not a problem. I respect where you're coming from. You're just wrong on this particular one, and I'm telling you you're wrong.
What I'm thinking. The lights might have been too bright, Joe.
Fuck are you talking about?